Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome back to a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. And what I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss, where in the bottom right hand corner of Nightshade, that's map number 1, we're looking inside of the main base of DRG. Dongregu, old school StarCraft 2 pro gamer. He used to especially be very strong during the early days of the game, and between about 2011 and 2013 is when he had most of his success. Maynard says, chat says, thank you for the translation. Okay, this best of 5 series is the grand finals of an Olimo League tournament, which is like a weekly tournament that's being played. And apparently, yeah, there were some translations being done by Crank, who is, of course, located over in South Korea. And he obviously also does speak Korean. Regardless, quick probe already has been sent out across the map, and that will now force the third base to go up. This is something that the pink Protoss player here in the top left-hand corner of Nightshade has been doing a lot recently. We are looking inside of the main base of Zest. Zest is the guy, and if you're a Zerg player, you may have experienced this on the ladder recently as well, but Zest is the guy. Is he gonna go 3-hatch before pool? No, that's so greedy. Nah, he is gonna go for a gas. Okay, but Zest is the kind of guy who's been sending out his probes so early across the map. So before even like planting down the pylon on the low ground over here, he already sends out a probe just to block this expansion from going up. And while I think technically speaking on paper, it shouldn't really matter too much. Although I came to Korea scene for a living, I'm still... Hey, thank you very much, Crank, for like, you know, doing what you do. He's one of the organizers of Olimo League, and well, he casts a ton in Korean as well. So if you're a Korean viewer, you're probably familiar with Craig. But anyways, they're distracting me with the in-game observer chat. What was I saying? I was saying something. Oh, right, yeah. So basically, you sent the probe out super early, and then, like, it shouldn't really matter, right? It shouldn't really matter from the Zerg side of things. Technically speaking, you should be able to deal with the first Adept just fine. But the problem is that oftentimes Protoss will go for an Adept as soon as the Cybernetics core finishes. And because Zerg cannot really defend both the natural and the main base with 2 Zerglings, oftentimes you need to make 4 Zerglings. So not only are you forced to like go for the Queen a little bit quicker over here, and then also obviously a Queen in the main base, everything is just a little bit messed up. So I'm curious actually to see what DRG decides to go for here in this game, in the early game, because, well, I personally hate this. I really dislike taking my third base as my first expansion as Zerg. I also love doing it whenever I play Protoss. Forcing the Zergs to take the third base is awesome, because it feels so really bad. Okay, here we go. Apparently we're going to be starting off this best of 5 series with a bang, as the Roach Warren is already coming up. Now that's a very quick Roach Warren. Only 1 gas taken, so it won't be like a hyper-aggressive Roach-only kind of push. But the question is, can Zest scout this? If he sees this Roach Warren, that's absolutely critical, because then he can actually make units here in advance. And this is why... Oh my god! Okay. Oh! What? No way! I thought he wouldn't actually see that. Well, this is why they call Zest the best. As of me making a video, by the way, he is the highest ranked Protoss player in the world. At least on Aligalek, the guy is ridiculously good. And he just now scouted exactly what is going on. So, since he decided to go for the Robo here, the Twilight Council is already done, and I don't think he's really going to be making anything out of that. He could go for a Dark Shrine, if he wants to, which would obviously shut this down, like hardcore. There would be absolutely nothing if Dark Templar come out here for the Zerg player. I don't really know if he has that time, though. DRG decided to cancel the natural expansion. He's making additional Overlords right now, 3. So I think he's going to reinforce this with pure Zergling and then probably morph in Ravagers. I don't know, though. Do you still really want to go for it at this point? I mean, Zest has stopped... well, he's actually scouting right now. He's like, hey, bro, are you still coming? Like, what's up? I scouted you going for some cheese. Are you still going to be sending it across the map? Yeah, he started up some pro production once again as well. Actually decides to go for a Prism first. That's quite interesting. I probably would have gone for the Immortal there instead. Regardless... A funnel, a choke point right here has been made. Zest, are you going to be able to keep those units alive? He's actually just sending the Prism straight across. Apparently feeling confident that he can go for the counterattack simultaneously as well, though it does decide to return here eventually. A lot of probes go down regardless. I'm actually quite surprised here. I thought that Zest was going to have a super easy time defending this because he scouted everything perfectly, but yeah, a little bit of mismicro here from him immediately does cause him to fall. At least, well, 15 probes. I think that this is pretty much game over right now. Alright, maybe he misread the scenario. Yeah, I think what probably happened there is that DRG delayed the push for so very long that he expected him to just go back once again towards playing macro because it got scouted as well. It's like this weird 4D chess. You know that it's coming, so you assume that your opponent knows that you know that it's coming as well, and therefore you assume that it's not coming anymore because it's so obvious. Huh. A little bit of a sloppy game number 1 there, but that does mean the DRG wins map 1. Alrighty, so that does bring us already to map number 2, and this is what I mean. Would you look at that? A probe already sent across the map right away. So he's just sending the probe across, not to like cheese or anything, although he could go ahead and do that, but he's just sending the probe across to block that expansion. I guess it's just to like, you know, give the Zerg player the middle finger or something, okay? This is the StarCraft 2 edition of giving the Zerg the middle finger. Once again though, did have to send another probe obviously towards the low ground as well, just to plant down the pylon. And the thing is, obviously, like, if you sent this probe already, right? So this is about, I mean, let's say like 35 or seconds. You basically have already wasted about 30 minerals up to this point, which is very, very significant. But hey, would you look at that? The expansion once again gets denied, and the third base will be forced to be taken here instead. Alright, now, I highly doubt that DRG decides to go for the Roach Warren push once again. This map is also, you know, relatively easy to defend. Like, one force field over here can, for example, slow everything down for quite a bit. I'm still a little bit surprised, though, that Zest scouted it so beautifully, and then he decided to just not really respond. That was a little bit weird. Like, he had a bunch of force fields and stuff. Maybe he didn't expect the Ravagers. I'm not sure. He must have misread something there. My best theory, at the very least, is that DRG was supposed to already push, and then he didn't. So, yeah, I guess that maybe Zest made the assumption that he gave up on the rush altogether. Yeah, a little bit weird there. Wish we could ask him. Anyways, he's got a couple more games here to make it up. Obviously, in a best-of-5 series, it is the first player to win 3 maps. That's the one that becomes the victor. So, shouldn't be something that he can't come back from. It is going to be that cybernetics core here on the low ground once again, and obviously this is the case in pretty much every single Zerg versus Protoss. Zerg versus Protoss, when it's just like a standard macro game, it's probably the most boring early game in StarCraft 2 right now. I mean, yeah, there's room for Roach pushes, and yeah, there's room for like Protoss cheese as well. We see cannon rushes every once in a while, but I would say like the vast majority of games in Zerg versus Protoss, probably up to like 80% or so, are just the same first 5-6 minutes, pretty much every single time. It mostly comes down here to what kind of tech route that Zest decides to go for here, as DRG is not throwing up a Roach Warren this time around. We'll have to see if he decides to pull the drones out of gas. Well, there they go. So indeed, he does pull 2 drones out of gas, which means that he is looking to play that macro game. And at that point, it mostly comes down to whatever tech route the Protoss player wants to go for. Most of the time, it seems to be right now that Protoss players go either for the Twilight Council immediately or for the, what's it called, the Stargate. So Stargate openers, still very, very popular. Zest, however, is one of the players that has been popularizing the Twilight Council opener recently. At IEM Katowice, he took out some of the best Zerg players in the world, like, for example, Serral, with the Glaved Adept build. So he's the one player who's really been popularizing it a lot. And ever since then, a lot of Protoss players on the ladder have been playing that exact same style as well. Glaved Adepts used to be very popular for a while. Now, is he going to go for it? I've actually seen some players going really quick blink as well recently. He could also just be going into the Dark Shrine. Is that what he's going to go for? Yep. Okay, it will be the Dark Shrine opener. So, Protoss has a lot of variety in the early game, but basically in the first couple of minutes, it takes a little while before everything gets underway, you know? I mean, technically speaking, Zerg could get aggressive, like you saw in map number 1, but on paper, I mean, Protoss should be able to defend those kind of pushes. And likewise, I mean, obviously, Protoss can go for an all-in as well, but Zerg also has a pretty easy time defending most of those kinds of early game all-ins. I mean, what can you go for here? Like a 1-base 4-gate? Are we gonna go straight back to 2010? Which is the only build that Protoss players used to play back in the day. At this point, does DRG see the Dank Shrine? He does not. So that one will go unscouted for now, but he did see the timing of Warp Gate, which is quite big. Seeing when the Warp Gate upgrade starts, having vision right over here at the third base, all of that helps out the Zerg player quite a bit. Now, he needs to get himself some detection, though. There's a couple different ways you can deal with this. Either you go by Spore Crawlers, or you go for a lair, obviously. In this case, he hasn't gone for either just yet. It is going to be 4 Adepts here first and foremost, and I like this quite a bit. I think he's already expecting the Zerglings to come up. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of detection. He's going to start up some Spores right now, and Spy Crawler as well. Man, this is so brave. I would be so cautious here if I was DRG. Decided to cancel, by the way. I think that was a Baneling Nest, and now go for a Roach Warren instead. Super late spores. Oh my god. Is he gonna be okay? Yeah, he should be fine. That is so late. What was that? Like 4 minutes and 25-ish seconds? The absolute latest. He must have read this this Protoss build order right here like a book, realizing exactly what the timing was that he needed to go for. Now, generally speaking, the follow-up after the quick Dark Templar opener is indeed an Archon drop. So Archon drops very, very potent. Very, very strong. I'm a big fan of this build, actually, when playing Protoss. I think it's really strong. It's just nice, you know, like you have several waves by going for the same tech route. So you have wave number 1, I guess in this case a couple of Adepts, although they didn't really get that much work done. They're now defending the 3rd base instead. But you get first a couple of Dark Templar to put on some pressure on the Zerg, and then secondly also the War Prism drop right here with the Archons. Now I love this positioning actually on the Spore Crawlers here. Yeah. Zest knows exactly what, or rather DRG knows exactly what it is that he's going up against. He's already sending in a couple of Zerglings right now for counter 2. Now, is he going to be able to get at least those sentries? Getting the sentries here would be real nice. 1 sentry goes down. Stalker also ended up falling there. I guess the sentry is the most important kill. Shouldn't be the end of the world though. Nicely done here. It's going to be a Spire follow-up right now for Zerg. Okay. So notice right here, like the first couple of minutes. I mean, yeah, they are a little bit action-packed, but nothing really critical has happened just yet. If you compare that to like the other matchups in StarCraft 2, I mean, Zerg versus Zerg, Protoss versus Protoss, Terran versus Terran, I mean, those are very explosive in the very beginning of the game. And, I mean, likewise for like Zerg versus Terran, for example, there's so much variety as well. Protoss versus Zerg, though, and Terran versus Protoss too, I guess, but Protoss versus Terran can also be a little bit passive. Yeah, PvZ definitely the slowest early game when it's a macro game, you know? The first 6 minutes basically look pretty similar most of the time. Alrighty, so 3rd base has been acquired, and Zest is happily macroing up right now, going into the Immortal Tech, getting himself the Blink Stalker upgrade here as well. He's going to be able to continue here with this game in a very nice macro state. He's not really too concerned right now about anything. Does he know about the Spire though? So Spire obviously is something that we see every once in a while. Zest has no idea that it's coming. A lot of the time right now, in Zerg versus Protoss, we see that Roach Ravager Ling Bane unit composition, or maybe the Roach Ravager into Hydra Lurker Viper. Mutas, though, they're like a thing that has been like relatively common, I would say, over like the last 2 months. This is like a pretty recent development again in Zerg versus Protoss, where Zerg could go ahead and tech up even towards Brute Lords straight up right now, just off of like Roach Ravager straight into Brute Lords. Very popular style. That's what we used to see quite a bit for several years. Right now, though, Mutas are going to be the name of the game. We'll see what he can do with that. Now, nicely done here. Already, even though Zest doesn't really know exactly what he's going up against, he has decided to put up photon cannons in the mineral lines, which is huge. A couple of Stalkers added into the mix as well. Yeah, Blink is going to finish up. I think that this is Zest knowing what DRG has been playing recently, because this is basically a straight-up counter to what exactly is going on right now. Despite him not seeing everything, he knows exactly what needs to be done. 3 probes go down here, but that's not really too much. Now, in the meantime, by the way, yeah, this Prism is going to be in a little bit of trouble. 2 Archons will not be able to live to tell this tale. They did end up killing a couple of those Mutas too, so I guess that makes this okay. But without the Prism here, this actually could be a pretty tricky defense. Love the fact that there's 2 Warp Gates right here on the top of that ramp to slow down the advancement of the Zerg. Force Fields! Is he going to go for Force Fields? Okay. Well, he throws up 1 eventually. Mostly just growling, I guess, with those sentries. Like, back off! The problem is that obviously Zerg can continue this harassment for quite a bit longer. There's no Banelings or anything like that, so this is just going to be Zerglings, Roaches, and Ravagers. He's also going for the missile upgrade, so probably won't be going for too many Banelings here. At least not yet. Is there going to be enough this time around here for the Protoss player to defend? Look at the supply counts. Zerg, for all intents and purposes, maxed out. Protoss really doesn't have that much. Still, though, he does have a couple of shield batteries. Also, a few Immortals in there, although I think that this one on the right-hand side will be picked off eventually. Zergling's working on it. Second one also does fall, and all of a sudden, the Swarm is everywhere. Now, he does have Blink, and Blink is awesome, right? He's now actually gotten behind some of these Zerg units as well. Another Immortal actually is now out, trying to target fire down as much as it can. Looks like that one will also be killed here by those Ravagers, but great hold here by Zest, as he does eventually warp in enough units to defend here nonetheless. Oof. That was very close. I actually thought for a second there that DRG was overwhelming it. I mean, I think it was like 200 supply versus like 130 supply or so. That was a very substantial advantage there for Zerk. And you can see the cost efficiency right here of Protoss. Absolutely massive. Imagine if you had that Prism there, though, and those 2 Archons. That would have looked so much cleaner. Alright. Yeah, so we will see that +1 Evo upgrade right now as well for melee. So, even though wave number 1 for the Zerk player did not quite win him the game, it seems like he's still holding down the unit button here primarily, right? So Roaches, Ravagers, and Zerglings. And he's gonna be going for that Baneling upgrade here nonetheless. So this is basically what the standard is right now. Lots of Roach, Ravager, Ling, Bane. We don't see too much Hive Tech, although Brute Lords obviously are still the go-to counter to most of that like Archon Immortal Zealot mid-game. The thing is though, players like Zest, they've gotten very, very good at figuring out the timing of the Hive, so they know exactly when Zerk is going to be pushing with Brute Lords, and then generally they will try and hit a timing attack before Brute Lords are out. And that's when Zerk is really vulnerable, right? Like you could like, as a Zerk player, get like 20 supply caught up in a bunch of like Corruptors that don't do anything. So it can be quite tricky. But anyways, here we go. Once again, here's wave number 2. Ooh, this time around though, yeah, Protoss does have Storm. Awesome. Great Storm so far, kills a lot of the Zerglings, but that's still an awful lot of Zerk as well, though. You gotta be careful. You don't want to land any of those corrosive biles here on your Stalkers. Like that's not what you're looking for. A couple of them will get picked off. 4th Nexus here already denied. Once again, the Zerk is advancing. Supply counts heavily in favor here of the Zerk player. No real damage has been done here at all by Zest. Does he have enough at this point to hold on? Ravagers are the only units, though, that are left over here. Oh, can you blink? Oh, nicely done. Yeah, he does blink forward this time around, dodging those biles. 2 more High Templar there with plenty of energy. Will be moving forward as well. They're floating forward, I suppose, right? They're so high that apparently they can float. I know. Amazing. They literally float, though. Anyways, looks like that Archon also will not live to tell the tale, but still, once again, it looks like Zest is holding on. Now, this is, don't get me wrong, like, still certainly advantage here for the Zerk player. I mean, he's sitting at 84 drones. He's got himself additional upgrades coming up. He's going into the Hive as well. Already has the Spire. So Greater Spire should be a pretty straightforward transition. But Zest is still holding on. I think the most, or most Protoss players here, well, for a fact, yes. Pretty much all Protoss players up to this point would have already fallen. Zest, though, still hanging in here. Trying his very best to stabilize and to hopefully get into a good position. Storms can certainly change the tide of battle, though. Now, once again, we have a push over here. This time around, I mean, the rocks are no longer here, but it's going to be gateways instead. Storm is so helpful here, yeah, softening up so much of this army, but at the same time, once again, the Link spoke into the 4th base. This is quite far away, so Protoss can't really defend these 2 locations on the map very easily. Man, that's a lot of gateways going down. Huge Storm once again as well. Looks like the 4th base, for some reason, does live. Zest needs this base, by the way. Like, at this point, I mean, look at this. 22 out of 80, or out of 8 probes right now in the natural. He really needs that 4th base. If the 4th base dies, that's basically also, with it, like, the chances in the game going down, okay? Like, he needs that base. Some lucky shots right there. DRG trying to see if he can get the Prism. Whoop. Nicely done. Pops out the High Templar, gets a bunch of damage in. At the same time, though, once again, a push over here. A couple of Dark Templar added into the mix. I like that a lot. They deal a lot of damage, and since there's no detection here, yep, the Zerk units will have to back off once again. And Zest manages to defend. Alright, so things are looking up right now for the Protoss player. However, the next tech has already been chosen here by DRG, and that's indeed gonna be that Brute Lord tech. He's getting himself the Adrenal Glands upgrade as well, which is an attack speed increase for Zerglings. Very, very powerful upgrade, because obviously, well, Zerglings are like the base damage here. I think it's like 38% attack speed, something like that. So, you know, Zerglings, they're pretty good, right? They're gonna be pretty good here, especially once they finish up the upgrade, especially with 2-2, or a +2 rather coming up as well. You might even go into +3 here very soon. But I think the real threat is indeed gonna be that Corruptor Ball. Where is it? There's a couple of them. There they are. There you go. Thank you guys for waiting until I had a shot of you before you morphed into Brute Lords. Appreciate that. Thank you very much, DRG here. My camera work is not perfect, but I try. Okay, so yeah, he's trying to force this Zerk player to go away. Dealing a lot of damage as well, actually, with the High Templar. Zest. He has no idea about the Hive and the Greater Spire. Now, he knows that it's gonna be an option. Obviously, he does have Blink. But the problem is, right, so if you're a Protoss player, you have a couple of different ways when it comes to dealing with Brute Lords. You can either go for Blink. However, against Blink, Zerg can just get more Brute Lords. The standard is to go for about 7 or 8 Brute Lords, and then that basically kills any amount of, like, Archon Immortal Zealot. You can deal a lot of damage with just about 7 or 8 of those Brutes. However, if your opponent goes for Stalkers, it is not uncommon to go up to, say, like, 20 Brute Lords instead. Ideally, for Protoss here, you want to transition towards, for example, Tempest. You want to go for some flying units that can deal damage from a distance. Brute Lords are scary units, and, well, I don't know if Stalkers are going to be that amazing. Well, he's got a lot of them, though. That is 32 Stalkers. That is a lot. And those High Templar, they have been dishing out damage for, like, 5 minutes right now. This is actually the first time that Zest is moving out across the map. He does now see these Brute Lords. Can he get underneath, though? There's still quite a few Zerglings remaining as well. And obviously, the reinforcements right now are going to be Zerglings as well. That way, the Brute Lords can be defended a little bit easier as well. The Stalkers do manage to get underneath the Brutes, trying to target fire down all of them. Lynx, though, coming in for the reinforcements. And that does mean that all of those Stalkers get surrounded right now on creep. A couple of Archons do remain. 2 Brute Lords right here on the right-hand side also stay alive. A bit of a desperation move out right there by Zest. I think that DRG should be able to hold on here, but that was actually very close. That was very close. It's so easy to get overwhelmed there. Like, imagine if Zerg would have not reinforced with Zerglings there, but say, like, Roaches or something like that. A lot of players at that point, I'm guilty of that as well, reinforced with Roaches. Those Stalkers would have done way better against Roaches than they would have against Zerglings, and the Lynx really were the key there. Nicely done. +3 is going to finish up as well. Are we going to go back to the good old Roach Ravager Ling Bane? I think we are. There's a bit of a mind game being played right now as well. Since Zest now knows for certain that there are Brute Lords out, right? He knows that there's Brute Lords out. He may very well decide to transition towards that Skytol's army. And the counter to Skytol's, believe it or not, is, well, most of the time at least, with the initial transition, just Ling Bane. Like, Ling Bane is exceptionally good against the slow-moving capital Protoss ships. DRG. Moving forward. Brute Lords are coming up. Oh, he's ready to spring the trap, but the High Templar also looking very good there. Banelings at the 4th base. Nice move there by the Zerg. Ugh, that's 17 probes there in total going down. Love the observer positioning here, by the way. Like, the observers have been... they have been mostly uncontested for now. Low ground base does finish up. The High Templar have to be the stars of this show here for Protoss. 109 supply versus 193. And this is like a very strong Zerg army. Great storms. Very nice storms. No Archons though, no Immortals. Well, there's like 1 Archon, but not a whole lot of Zerg. Or not a whole lot of like beefy mid-game here for Protoss. The Lings and the Banes, they roll forward. And while the Stalkers are looking to get underneath those Brutes, Zest is forced to GG out. And that now brings the score to a 2-0 advantage for DRG. Alrighty, so here we go. Map number 3, we find ourselves on Zen. And once again, that probe is moving across the map. I shouldn't be casting these games, man. I play mostly Zerg on the ladder. I should not be showcasing you guys this kind of disgusting opener here from the Protoss player trying to block the natural. Okay, fine, Lowko. Calm down. It's nothing to be all too upset about. But it is very, very annoying to play against. Now, if you're a Protoss player, like, all kidding aside, I highly recommend you go ahead and start making these kinds of moves. If your opponent wants to go for a hatch first, it is so annoying. Like, it really is. It's not even that it's like I said, you know, necessarily a super bad situation for the Zerg, but you get thrown off of your game plan right from the very start. And some Zerg players, at least in my experience playing Protoss, some Zerg players will absolutely freak out and go for like a gas and then a spawning pool, and then they go for like a base super, super late. And if you just open up normal, I mean, the game becomes significantly easier to play. I kind of want to see what DRG decides to go for, though, this time around. I mean, game number 1, he decided to go for the Roach Warren. Game number 2, he just played it out like a macro game, and he ended up winning both of those. I wonder what he has in store for us here on Zen. Zen, obviously, is a bit of a strange map. The map basically features this this double entrance into the natural. So that's why we see the first gateway coming up over here. He's going to need additional structures over here to like finish up this wall off. So Zerg can't just run in. Wouldn't be surprised to once again see a Roach Warren coming up here. We'll see. We'll see. I really am wondering, though, what Zest did wrong in that game number 1. Like, that seemed uncharacteristically, you know, poorly defended there. I mean, mistakes are made, believe it or not. And this comes as a bit of a shock sometimes. But pro gamers get this, right? They're humans. I know. I know. They're not just robots. Well, except for Innovation, obviously. Innovation is clearly a robot. But everyone else, definitely human. No, even Innovation is, guys. Yeah, that's even crazier, I know. Now, I love this, actually. The probe is staying around for a lot longer this time around. Lings, obviously, can come up here in just a second. No Zerglings being made, though. It's going to be the double queen. So, 1 queen over at the third, 1 queen over in the main base. In the meantime, though, on the side of Protoss, I mean, yep, Gateway, Cybercore, nothing out of the ordinary. Adept coming up here, being chrono boosted. He should probably put his tech structure over here now, which is one of the reasons why Protosses don't really like this map very much. He actually decided to put the Twilight inside of the main base, but this could be a bit of a disaster against like a Zergling flood. You basically need to be able to finish up this wall at a moment's notice. I guess this is going to be finished with another gateway here in just a second. Alright, so. One thing we did see in the previous game was that... Okay, there's a Robo. Was that DRG was surprisingly late there with the Dark Templar. Right? Like the Dark Templar defense, that is. He dealt with it by going for Spore Crawlers, but that always... I mean, that's a bit of a red flag for me as well. Like, I look at that kind of game and I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to be going for Dark Templar, what if I just try and, like, kill them? And oftentimes, if you blindside where the prism is going, so you can even, like, hallucinate a prism, right? And then, like, send the prism, the hallucinated one in one direction, and then the actual prism in the other direction. It can be really difficult for Zerg to actually defend against Dark Templar with Spore Crawlers, because you can just, you know, if you come in from an angle that the Zerg doesn't expect, it's just game over right then and there. This time around, though, no DTs at all. Okay, I thought maybe he was trying to, like, maybe outsmart his opponent. It's gonna be the Glaive Adept opener. So this is the build that he won a bunch of games with at IEM Katowice. Obviously, earlier this year at IEM Katowice, this was this February or March? Basically, before the whole quarantine situation. It was like the last premier tournament that was being played offline over in Poland. And Zest ended up taking second place there. I think for like $65,000 or something like that. Although don't quote me on that. I think it's something like that. It was a pretty high amount. So he ended up playing this exact build over there, which is pretty cool. He got absolutely shut down in the finals, though. Like, he tried doing that build in the grand finals as well. And, well, let's just say it didn't go very well. Turns out when you've been outsmarting a bunch of players for a while, and then you try and do it again in the grand finals, yeah, players are very quick to adapt. Now, is this something, though, that DRG expects right now? Because, I mean, it's Zerglings and, well, Queens. Glaive is finishing up right now, and it's basically going to make these Adepts attack significantly faster. They're going to plow through Zerglings. Like, it's not even going to be close. Okay, now that was a good shade there, or a good defense right there by DRG. The shade obviously got cancelled, and that does now mean that he buys himself a bunch of time to go for the Banelings. Banelings are very good against clumped up Adepts, but Adepts, I mean, if they manage to get multiple shades in, that can deal a lot of damage. Brenda actually taking a lot of damage right there as well. Let's see where the Banelings go. Is he going to split? Oh, yeah. He thinks he's a Terran player now. Beautiful splits, actually. Very nicely done. Now, that obviously also creates additional service area there for those Zerglings. Adepts, though. Oh, yeah. They shade towards that little pocket there in the natural expansion. Only one Baneling remains. I mean, that one can certainly deal some damage. Not a lot of drones have fallen just yet. But here's the additional Adepts coming up. The ones that got warped in right there at that prism. 8 drones up to this point. Is he going to be able to get more? I think he will. He will certainly try. Oh my god. These little pockets in the natural are so painful. And here's the thing. You blink twice, and like an entire mineral line can be gone. It's so quick. Like, these Adepts can deal so much damage so fast. And you know what? I think that this is already a bit of a disaster. If you look right now at the worker count, we're looking at 43 probes versus 31 drones. And, I mean... just any timing attack as a follow-up right now could seal the deal. Zerg doesn't really have the option to make a whole lot of drones at this point either. Oh my god. Yeah, when the Adepts go down multiple shades between different mineral lines, that's really when it becomes an absolute disaster here for the Zerg player. Once again, shades forward, and I love this. In the meantime, third Nexus going up and also a Dark Shrine. So it's not like he's going all in with this. He's just putting on what we call a little bit of dedicated pressure. GG is called, and Zest does win map number 3. Alrighty, so map 4 in this best of 5 series. We find ourselves on Golden Wall. Now, like I said in game number 1, this is indeed the grand finals of an Olimo League recently. If you guys are interested, I'll go ahead and actually post a link to their Patreon page down below as well. So Olimo League, it's basically a, like I said, it's a weekly tournament. And they release their replay packs to Patreon supporters, which is really cool. But obviously, they also actually are able to put on these tournaments because of the actual support that they get over there. So definitely something I would recommend checking out in case you're unfamiliar. Always nice to be able to support tournaments, you know, all around the world. Now, this one is specifically dedicated. Well, it's not necessarily dedicated, I don't think, but it's mostly Korean players that sign up for it. The cool thing is that with, say, like the GSL Code S, right? We've been seeing the same names for a very long time. Oh, wow, it's actually going to be a gold base first here. That's pretty crazy. Anyways, we've seen the same names in StarCraft 2 for a very long time, and there's really not that much new blood over in South Korea. Like, we see a bunch of new players over here in Europe and over in the United States and stuff as well. But in Korea, it's been the same names for quite some time. And tournaments like Olimo League allow players that are up and coming to show themselves and to actually make a name for themselves. So that's why those kinds of tournaments, those grassroots organization kind of things, they are very important. Obviously, the top level pro gamers like these two can also sign up. So, yeah. At least you get to test your skills, I guess, against some of the best players, right? It's always nice, though, because, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. Like, what's the best way if you're really good at the game to make a name for yourself? Well, the best way is to win against other top-level players, right? Like, if you're a, if you want to make a name for yourself and you manage to beat Serral in a best-of-5 series, yeah, you know, you do quite well at that point, right? Like, everyone knows who you are at that point. But obviously, yeah, that's not so easy as it may seem, right? If you're assuming that things are going to be straightforward, I think you're going to be in for a bit of a surprise. Either way, gold base very quickly here for DRG. I haven't seen a lot of games on Golden Wall recently. It seems like everyone is vetoing this map right now in tournaments. I don't really know exactly what map he vetoed. Probably ended up vetoing Purity and Industry, which is a map that all of the Korean pro gamers seem to heavily dislike at the moment. Not because it's a terrible map, but because it's so different. And, well, to be fair, like, I don't think Protoss players would veto it, but Zerg players, I mean, they basically have to deal immediately with Protoss players going straight up to, like, 4 bases. Very little you can do to actually try and counter that. I guess on this map, I mean, while it's also not considered to be particularly great for Zerg, you do have some options here as a Zerg player by going for that golden base. So, is he gonna go for, like, a follow-up right now that's aggressive, just leaving one drone in gas? I think he's just playing a macro game. Just playing a bit of a macro game, going for what seems to be a standard opener here, just using those golden minerals. Now, hey, drone. There you go. Thank you right there, DRG. Once again, dude, DRG is my best friend today. You see him waiting with the Broodlord Morphins, and right now also microing that drone perfectly. He's having respect of the cameraman from the future. I mean, these games were played a little bit ago. Amazing, man. How did he do it? Yeah, so he's mining out these mineral patches over here. I don't know if he's gonna try and do something cheeky here, take this base over here, or maybe, like, I don't know, mine the golden minerals from the other side. I haven't seen anyone do that yet, but that would be pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, obviously, this is quite a common third base location as well here for the Protoss. You can also just mine it out right here, just for future reference. Anyways, Dark Shrine opener once again. I like it. Roach Warren, once again coming up here as well. No Bailing Nest this time. Ah, the probe, indeed, was waiting to be planted down on the other side of this this little wall. The other side of the golden wall, I suppose. And he is going to be able to plant down the Nexus over here in relative safety. I say relative safety, but yeah, I mean, the minerals already were mined out there in the center. So the Zerglings can just go there, and there's like nothing that Protoss can actually do. These are 20 minerals each, so these mineral fields over here have 20 resources in them, rather than the conventional 5. Regardless, you know what? All of that may be completely irrelevant. There is detection right now inside of the main base. But other than that, the natural has already taken a lot of damage. Yeah, this is once again DRG playing very greedy against this. Now finally starts up the lair. But I mean, there was only detection over in the main base and then in the third base as well, right? Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. Although I say that actually, and you know what? He's killed no workers at all. He did manage to kill 2 queens and an overlord there, which is nice. But, you know what? That actually, I thought that maybe a whole bunch of drones fell there, but that's not even the case. Problem is, though, that this golden wall does not really help you defend against these Archons. Oof. Yeah, he can just stand there. He can just deny mining there. Yeah, just wait. Make them try and fight you, I guess. There you go. In the meantime, third Nexus was nicely acquired over here. Gateways are coming up as well. Normally, they're going to be covering this section, so Zerk is going to be funneled through the top section over here. Regardless, yeah, this is annoying here for the Zerk player for sure. A lot of lost mining time. It is already kind of negates a lot of that advantage that you get from having the golden minerals. So golden minerals, they mine 7 resources per trip rather than the conventional 5. So I mean, if you're not mining for like, I don't know, 30 seconds there, that negates most of the advantage of the golden minerals already. Like, it really adds up very quick. Spore Crawler falls as well. I don't like this, man. I really am a fan of just taking this as the natural, and then this is the third base, or maybe this is the third base, but the golden base, I don't know. Never works for me with any of the races. Except for Zerk versus Zerk, but in Zerk versus Zerk, this map, it's just Ling Bane, Ling Bane, Ling Bane. Wow, even gets a Ravager there. Beautiful move here by Zest, though. Really abusing the terrain of the map, trying to get maximum value out of it. Spine Crawlers take about 7.5 years to root, and while it eventually does root, it took it long enough, right? It took a little while. All right, so third Nexus happily up and running here. We do see now a transition towards once again Blink Stalkers and Immortals. Forge does come up here too. Is that just gonna go push right now? The problem here is as well, once these golden minerals run out, all of a sudden the other minerals can be pushed into very, very easily. You can also just walk right here on the, through the center of the map and just push that way. You could even try an elevator units into the main base. Use the prism as an elevator. Additional stalkers coming up. They do have blink. Well, they have blink in about 20 seconds. Branda gets force fielded out, which is a little bit unfortunate. And the third base, I mean, I guess this was the first X, but once again, still no detection over here. Are you kidding me right now? One Dark Templar deals a bit of damage. Now, at the same time, though, Roaches and Ravagers are sent across the map, but there's one hero DT in there. It's gonna be able to clean all of this up, but it's gonna take a very long time. So I would love to see some additional Dark Templar here coming up as well. Looks like some of the Protoss army is just simply marching back home. Force field over here should also be enough on that ramp. 5 probes fall, but still a pretty good situation here for the Protoss player, as while that was all going on, he managed to get the snipe on that base. Love the usage right here, though, of these Dark Templar. Using the Dark Templar here offensively, and one cheeky one a little bit later once again as well. Beautiful defense here once more by Zest. Supply-wise, still definitely an advantage here for DRG, but I mean, if you compare that to, what's it called? Like the golden map that we saw earlier, map number 2. This certainly is much, much better for him. I mean, that was like 120 supply versus 200 Zerg, right? Okay, so what do you do right now as a Protoss player? How many gateways is that? We see 9 gateways after this one finishes up. Changeling, also indeed. While it still wears the Zealot pants, it is gonna be spotted and at the very least shut down. DRG is apparently the one that wants to be aggressive here. Now, I don't know if I agree with that. What are you gonna be able to achieve here? This is a lot of Protoss, man. How many Immortals are we talking? Yeah. Oh my god, what? That seems maybe a bit excessive too, but... hold up. Maybe, yeah, there were actually some drones being killed too. Hold up, one sec. Okay, so this is what happened here in the last couple of seconds. While the Zerg was pushing up the ramp, a Dark Templar once again in the natural, and DRG was just not feeling it anymore. GG was called, and that means that the score has been evened up to 2. Okay. So map number 5 in this Best of 5 series, so the final map, is Purity in Industry. So what maps ended up being vetoed then? So players obviously get to like veto one map each, because there's 7 map pools, or 7 maps rather in the map pool, and that, you know, the Best of 5 series obviously, you get to both veto one. Simulacrum and Everdream, I guess? Yeah, we didn't see Simulacrum, we didn't see Everdream. I can kind of understand vetoing Simulacrum maybe if you're DRG, but I feel like you would pretty much always veto this map. This map is pretty horrible for Zerk. Main reason, I mean, like I said, right? Maybe he's got some sort of tricky build-up or up his sleeve here. Wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, Zest is going to be, you know, sharp here too. Probably making the assumption that his opponent might get a little bit cheeky. Okay, yes. All right, I love this. So once again, the probe was sent across the map, but a spawning pool and a gas geyser are coming up, and DRG is now sending the worker across. So, Proxy Hatchery? Is he going to plant it over in the natural, or is he going to go ahead and plant it, like, I don't know, right over there? Yeah, the drone is actually routed over in that direction. Okay. Now, the probe has been rallying back and forth, and he does now see the timing of that gas and the timing of the pool, so he knows that there's no hatchery, at least in this conventional spot. Maybe he's expecting it right now to be over here. Instead, a Proxy Hatchery goes down here in the final map of this Best of 5 series, right outside of the natural of the Protoss. He's not checking for it just yet, so he has no idea. Alright, so Zest looking around. He saw a drone heading in this direction. Once he sees this, alarm bells should start going off. Yep. And there it is. Okay, so the probe will be scouting forward right now. He knows that the hatchery has been taken right outside of his front door. Now, what exactly do you do? Goes for a forge. Okay, so I guess he's got a cannon defend his own base. Now, I love this. DRG, he's going for the Zergling speed upgrade, pulled all drones out of gas, and right now he's sending drones across the map too. So this is going to be a Spine Crawler variation. We have seen Roach Ravager variations here as well, but he's going to go for Spine Crawlers, build them right here on the creep, right as this hatchery finishes up. Super cheesy build. I kind of like it. Let's see how this goes. We've seen especially like players like Bly, right? Go for like, you know, Roach Ravager variations. They seem to do quite well. Now, I love this. One Stalker and one Probe, apparently, are going to be the name of the game. Link speed is obviously pretty, well, no, it's not going to be done yet. Eventually, though, there we go. The Spine Crawlers do come up. Photon Cannon also coming up here. He could even go for like a shield battery over here. Yep, there it is. With the next multiplayer balance patch, he's going to be able to use the overcharge ability as well on these pylons to make this defense even stronger here for Protoss. This seems like a good situation here for the Protoss player, doesn't it? Okay, drone almost falls here. The Zerglings though coming up, but I love the fact that there's already a photon cannon. Now here's the Spine Crawlers, the Spine Crawlers finishing. Additional Zerglings were being made as well. He's gonna try and run by. Actually, I'm quite surprised that he decided to go for Stalkers, but it makes a lot of sense when you see it right now. Would have really expected Adepts here. My god. Yeah, DRG, I don't really see what you can do here, my man. Warp Gate is gonna finish up here in just a second as well. Now, there's only one gateway here. Only a handful of workers here as well, actually, for the Protoss player. Well, I say that. Looks like the Zerglings are starting to push through, but yeah, this Wolof over here, right? There's like 7 layers to it. He also left enough space over here to add on a pylon in that location if he absolutely needs to. Stalkers are being warped in. They are in range right there of the shield batteries too. And GG is called. Zest with the reverse sweep after being 2-0 behind. He does win this series in a 3-2 fashion. That was a fun series. Variety of builds, variety of strategies. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. Special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for your generosity. I appreciate it. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to smile, alright? And I'll see you once again in the next one.